think that if every city that hosted a F1 event, decided that they were going to overcharge people or overcharge every single bill. I mean, imagine the amount of money that people in the city of Singapore would have to dish out in order to prevent, any people, random bystanders who are just, staying, maybe they're staying late at work, and they happen to look outside their giant business building and there's a racetrack down there in the streets and they're watching. Like, the amount of money that they would have to spend in order to avoid that is just absolutely absurd. So it just seems really crazy to me that they would even attempt this for Vegas. You know what I mean? They would even attempt that. You know?
I don't even know if it's the fact that it's a huge like event that's gonna like shut down the city. That's fine. I mean that happens, right? Like whether it's a Super Bowl or whatever big large sporting event, Olympics, FIFA World Cup, whatever it is, right? I think the problem is just that it feels so manufactured.
Yeah.
That's what kills me about this, right? Like I think, and we just saw Max with his, there's a quote he had earlier this week that, we are here for the show, right? So even amongst the drivers, they all feel the same, right? There's no topological variations. There's no grading in, this is like a 20-meter drop to this point of the track of the circuit. No, it's all flat, like you're literally going down like the strip, around the Bellagio. Like, I don't know.
I mean, honestly,
it's fake Monaco.
Well, yeah, and like Monaco has elevation change. Like, I think honestly, the most boring tracks, with maybe the exception of Silverstone, are all the ones that are flat. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like all the most exciting tracks have the elevation. Austria, Interlagos, Monaco, Coda. What else? I mean, I think even like
Suzuka
Azerbaijan has like a certain. Oh yeah, Suzuka. Well, Suzuka has the crossover,
right?
And I want more of those. Maybe we should make our own dream racetrack.
That'd be fun. Yeah.
To throw together, like what it would map out, sort of what it would look like, how many turns. Well, hello everybody. Thanks for eavesdropping in on our conversation here. Thanks a lot.
That was a good Mr. Rogers type of. Oh, hi there, neighbor.
Well, hi there, neighbor. Welcome to our podcast.
Where we trash the Vegas GP. Have we been? No. Will we ever? No. Well, hopefully one day. I mean, it would be cool to go for sure because it's a thing. It's a race. But
well, we've been trashing Vegas ever since they announced it. So it's not like we've just hopped onto the bandwagon now. I mean, we were probably first class, if not running it. Operating shoveling the coal into the front of the machine. So.
The hype train. I think the other thing that gets me about it is I don't think I always. You know what? I'm gonna say this at large. I want to say most of the F1 community, at least from the posts and the conversation I've seen online, no one is excited about this, right?
No, I don't.
So,
think so.
No. Being in that mindset and going backwards, I'm thinking back to the first time I started to have like weird feelings about it, right? And I think I can trace that to when Formula One, when Liberty Media released like, what was it? They had a ticket drop, right? Early, you could do pre-sale tickets, right? And then just seeing those prices pop up online and actually going online to the website and checking out yourself, you're just like, wait, $1,400 for a Grand Prix that's, first off, completely brand new, is completely flat.
Yep.
One of the most expensive cities. Like, what are we talking about?
With just a standing area.
Yes, And like, you're not even seeing the track, right? Like, you're watching the race on a TV in a room next to the track.
Right, I think there's only. I mean, I could be wrong. Maybe, Tiernan and Shinali can shed some light on this. And when they're there.
Yeah.
But
shout out Knockoff McLaren. They'll be at the Vegas GP.
I'm excited to hear what how their weekend goes. But so far as I could tell from what I remember seeing is that there was the general admission was is a standing area,
Yeah.
like a single standing area.
Right.
And like if you wanted grandstand tickets, that they were bundled with hotel stays or something like that. At least that's what I heard. Like it's just a mess. And then
Yeah.
you have instances where like the parking garages overlooking the track, they put up these giant glass panes that were frosted glass, and people were just scraping the frosting off of it. And like, you know what I mean? It's just like just trying to police that. It's like the more you try and restrict it, the worse it's going to be. Like I'm sure there's going to be plenty of people up there trying to watch it anyway.
Yeah,
but like,
absolutely.
you know, probably more so if you're trying to prevent people from doing it. But well, you know, since we're on this subject, obviously today there's no race this weekend, but everybody is getting all fired up for Vegas, which is why we're talking about it.
Maybe they're getting fired up.
Maybe they're getting fired up. They want you to think that they're getting fired up. Yeah. That's the key thing. Like they want you to think like, oh man, everyone's super excited, even though it seems like Max is pretty much checked out at this point.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's several news things that I want to talk about in regards to Vegas. One, there's a couple of things that were just kind of small anecdotal things. One, I saw that they put the track barrier, like the
curbs,
you know, the like white and red track limit sort of barriers, like the apex of like of the turns and everything. They had put like roulette symbols, like the diamond, the spade,
that was cute,
and the club things around the apex bits. That's awesome. I think that as a I think that was really clever marketing. I mean, we see racetracks do this, like Brazil. Theirs are the colors of their flag. The U.S. has like the stars and stripes on the runoff areas. And who else? Somebody else does like some interesting things with the like the runoff bits, but I can't really remember. I did think that was clever. That was probably the most clever thing I've seen come from the Las Vegas Grand Prix, because everything else just looks pretty mumbo jumbo. But you know, the first thing I wanted to talk about, and this, I don't know if you saw this. Yeah. Apparently, there are some concerns about the turn one at Las Vegas. So there's a good picture of this new impressive paddock that they built, right, for the race, and the exit of pit lane is the first turn is a big long swooping left turn, right? And the exit of the pit lane rolls alongside the wall around that left-hand turn and then re-enters the track.
That's very dangerous.
Which means that the racing line is essentially in parallel with the pit lane exit line, which is not great. It kind of apparently has brought up some safety concerns. And we can compound this actually with another thing that I was going to talk about too. And we can talk about both together because we might as well. This Vegas race is apparently supposed to be pretty cold. Now, I looked up the temperatures in Vegas just on my phone. You know, so anybody that has an iPhone knows how reliable that Apple's weather app is, which is not very. Yeah. But apparently they're claiming it's going to be like mid to 50s, like mid to high 50s.
Well, and not just that. Don't forget, the race is also starting at what? I think 10 p.m.?
10 p.m.
10 p.m.
Yeah.
10 p.m. in the like desert. Right, like high desert. Actually, is Vegas high desert or low desert?
It's low desert. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. But even still, isn't it kind of ironic that like Vegas, like in the desert, a place that you normally associate with being like very hot, is going to be very cold. Yeah. There's some irony there.
And not just that,
Alanis Morissette.
Yeah. We should also clarify. Yeah, it was good. I'm still laughing at that. We should clarify though. When I say 10 p.m., it's not 10 p.m. on Sunday. It's 10 p.m. on Saturday night. So this is the first Saturday Grand Prix, and I think over something like 30-ish years or something like that. I remember seeing that stat somewhere. I might have the years wrong. But this is 10 p.m. on a Saturday night. So, and that's Mountain Time, right? That's not West Coast time. That is or Eastern Time Zone. So. in the Eastern time zone. We'll be watching that 1 a.m. So I guess the rest of us will all be feeling how the rest of the world feels at all times, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just a weird time. It's a weird schedule. I don't know. It's an odd time of the year to pick to race in Vegas due to the temperatures. That's a huge difference, right? Like historically speaking, I'm looking at, just looking at it for next weekend, right? This coming weekend. Yeah, it's going to be like 69 and like a max of 69 on the 18th. And
that's during the day, right? What's the low?
The low is 53.
Okay.
The low is 53 degrees, and it's going to rain.
Apparently, the coldest Grand Prix recorded was Canada. I think it was the mid 70s. They had it was in Canada, of course, and I think the low they got there was about 41 degrees Fahrenheit. Was the lowest that they got. They had jackets up on the podium, so that apparently is cold. And also to keep in mind too that like F1 cars are not incapable of running in colder temperatures. I mean, preseason testing happens pretty early in the year.
Sure.
You're generally in, not always the most optimum temperatures, but there's a difference here in that this is a competitive race. This is not just some test session. And to kind of go back to my point that I was going to make before, with that pit exit, fresh cold tires coming out of that turn, there's some safety concern that drivers might wash wide and therefore crash into oncoming traffic coming through the racing line. And so that's I think that is going to be a weird mix of like potential danger because you have drivers wanting to ride the racing line, but also maybe a mix up of driver ability or strategy, because maybe there are a couple of drivers that don't want to take that racing line because of that risk. Maybe they run a little wider and therefore they're a little slower.
Right.
So maybe there's some that are going to take risk and some that won't. But yeah, no, not very well thought out. It's kind of like with Jeddah and those like long swooping high speed turns where you just blind corners. It's like,
I mean, what do you expect though? If you build a track right in the middle of the downtown, like, yeah, this is what it's going to look like. And if that downtown doesn't inherently have like some really good city planning and urban planning that went into place at the start in the incorporation of the city, then yeah, it's going to look like this, right? It's just going to be a grid with some weird corners. So rip to anyone who gets hit right there, because that's not good.
So I just looked up the who designed this F1 track.
I know it wasn't Tilke.
It says it's Karsten Tilke.
Oh, okay. So
is that their like sibling, or is that Herman's sibling, or?
So they're it's a group of family members that work together. So Tilke has.
That's a group of Tilkes.
Yeah. So
what is the plural of Tilkes? What's a group of Tilkes? Is it Tilken?
J.R.R. Tilkens.
It's just a group of it's a murder of Tilken, or a
it's a Suzuka overpass.
A gaggle of Tilkas.
Yeah. I like Tilkens. Let's
see. Yeah, Tilkens I think is pretty good. What else did they design? Did they may have also designed the Miami Grand Prix circuit too.
Yeah, no. Yep, they did. They've done like all the more recent stuff. Yeah, they've done Vegas, they did Jeddah, they were working in Hanoi. Yeah. So pretty much all the new tracks they have worked on.
The main goal for everyone was to use the main features of Las Vegas, quote, end quote. So like the buildings.
I mean,
like,
if that's
what other? I guess the Vegas Strip is like the only feature I can think of that. My God. Okay.
You know what?
Yeah.
for as much complaining as we're doing, we could end up watching this, like, come this weekend and just be like, "Oh, this is the best race in a long time," right?
Oh. Oh my God. If this ends up, I will gladly go out of my front door, out to the front of the street, and just pick up some fresh crow and plop it on a plate,
And
roast
eat
it
it.
up in the oven, and eat it on the podcast. If that's a good, you get the joke, right?
Oh.
I'm eating crow.
Sheryl Crow.
That's like the
Were you referencing Sheryl Crow there? Okay.
No, I was eating crow. It's like if you're wrong, you eat.
Oh
crow.
yeah. No. Oh yeah. I get the idiom. Yeah, but it's more so. I thought you were specifically referring to Sheryl Crow in that instance.
Oh well, if it makes you happy.
Man, was that your favorite mistake?
Man, all I want to do is have some fun. I got a feeling I'm not the only one. All right.
Oh man, yo, that first cut was deep.
Man, we have so many people right now that are probably throwing their laptops or whatever they're listening to out the window at the moment. And you know what? I ain't mad about it.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, a virtual high five for that one. That was good. All right.
Friendship.
Yeah, well, I think like there's a couple of things people suggested that I think would make this really exciting, even more exciting.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody was saying, you remember? I don't know if it was this year or last year. It was one of those like mini Vegas preview like things where they get old F1 cars and they just do donuts around the strip. Remember when they put the neon glow underneath the Mercedes car when he was doing like out there doing?
Yeah.
Somebody suggested that they do that like for the race, and honestly,
that'd be fun.
That's not a bad idea. You imagine if it had a practical purpose, like it would turn red if they were harvesting electricity instead of like those backlights flashing. You know what I mean? That would be a bigger indicator for the crowd, because then we would be able to have a visual cue to see like, oh, he's harvesting. You know what I mean? Because a lot of people don't even really pay much attention to that. They don't really think about it. Or if we know a car is going to come into box, if they say box, like maybe it turns a different color, like, or something,
or something. Yeah,
like that would
some
be
kind of pattern.
I know it probably. I don't really think it would add that much weight, but I guess in F1 terms, any added weight is going to be weight.
Yeah. But you're not losing like 5 horsepower when you're adding on lights,
Right. I mean, honestly, the thing for me, it's just like if you're gonna go nuts with it, you might as well just go absolutely bonkers nuts with it. Like just have like make the steering wheels like deck those out in like gambling chips, like have everyone do a special livery, put neons all over the cars, like if you're gonna go buck wild with it, you might as well go buck wild with it.
Absolutely.
I don't know. I mean, who's done pretty well on the street circuits? I mean, I feel like this is close to kind of almost like a Singapore-esque sort of track. I mean, it's a little more square. Do you think that Red Bull will not be very good at this one, almost like they weren't with Singapore? I mean, definitely different temperature.
But they're not going to drop the ball like they did in Singapore.
No.
I don't think so. I think expect to see some good things from Ferrari. I don't know. I get the feeling. I think Charles and Carlos tend to do okay at street circuits. Bottas seems to favor street circuits. Checo likes street circuits. A lot of these guys, I mean, they're all professional drivers. These are the best of the best, right? The top 20. Right. So I'm expecting them to all perform reasonably well. I guess what might be more fun to say is who is not going to perform well. Who do you think is going to completely drop the ball and fumble?
Alfa Romeo.
Oh, I'm talking about individual drivers. But yeah, I do agree about Alfa Romeo.
I was going to say, because that's a softball right there.
Yeah, that's...
I think... here's the thing. I would suspect it's going to be tough to say because, like, my first impulse is to think, well, maybe, Lance Stroll bin it, like, again, like he did in, Singapore, or, maybe the Red Bulls won't do very well, but it's definitely different, mainly because of that temperature change. Like Singapore was really hot. It was really warm and uncomfortable, and this is not going to be that. Like the drivers are going to be, actually, if anything, they'll probably be, I don't know if
like kind of cold,
comfortable, or do you think they'd be cold? I mean, I don't know. Like,
that's a good question.
Pretty warm in the car, I feel like that keeps them.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that myself, like, because it's going to be, I was just looking it up, average temperature in Vegas for the month of November is, like, the daily mean kind of falls around 57 degrees, right? So average low 47, average high 67 in November. We are in the middle of November, so that feels about accurate. And this is looking at data from 1937 through the present. So, I would expect it to be somewhere between that 47, 57 range, right? That's chilly if you're going really fast, right? So you're going to be removing a lot of heat through convection, right? Through just the car driving. But I guess it really depends on how much heat they're generating inside the cockpit,
Right.
They might be comfortable. Yeah.
Yeah, well, and also how is the temperature going to affect the fuel and the air? Right? Because fuel, if it's colder fuel or lower temperature fuel, it tends to be more dense, right? Isn't it?
Yeah. So it'll be a little better up to a certain point, right? Like if I would say you probably start getting into like 40, maybe like the 40s, 30s. That's when your fuel economy starts to tank, right? But this is not about fuel economy, right? So, I would imagine that their fuel economy is going to be a little better here. Maybe more power out of the engines. This is just me kind of guessing based off of some of speculating based off of just stuff I remember from.
What about airflow? Because like colder temperature air is different than like warmer. Like isn't warmer air slightly thinner?
Yeah, it's gonna be. Well, it depends. It depends, right? Because I mean, if you think about it on the flip side, right? When literally flipping our orientation here, if I'm an airplane, right, it's really cold, but the air is also super thin up there. So just because the air is cold doesn't necessarily mean that it's gonna be It's gonna be super dense down here. But I mean, we're at a much lower elevation, so inherently, you're gonna have a thicker, more dense airflow. So it'll. I don't know. We're just gonna have to see how it plays out. Honestly, we've never done it. So we'll start getting our first bits of data from practice sessions on Friday, which I would recommend to everyone who's watching this Grand Prix for the first time, which is all of us, that we should all watch free practice, because that's going to give us a lot of insight into things, because you've never seen this track before. Like, who knows what's going to happen, right? It's just, we're all going to be, what do you say? We say Fridays for the nerds, Saturdays for the dweebs, Sundays for the casuals. We're all going to be nerds this week. So
let's all be nerds.
Get ready.
Yeah, let's all be nerds, because, well, honestly, when is does FP, does that mean that the first practice session's on Thursday instead of Friday?
Ooh, that is a good question, mon ami. Let's see. So for this weekend, you know what's funny?
It is. Yeah, FP1 Thursday.
I was going to say I have the official
They're
F1
doing
calendar.
qualifying on Saturday before the race.
Like right. Ooh, really?
So this is like a super sprint weekend.
Dude. Man.
It's like
so both in a Saturday. Yikes.
Yeah. So what is qualifying starts, we'll see the races. So the race is at 10. Qualifying starts at noon, looks like. Does that mean that qualifying be during the day?
Yeah.
Wow.
So 9 a.m. for you, right? That's real nice. Oh, no. I mean, that's actually, that's 11 a.m. for you.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's going to be wild. It's going to be like we're get two races or two sort of experiences with Vegas being during the day and during the night, and that's going to be different too, because there's a 10 degree temperature difference, and I'm sure with the sun out, it's also going to increase the track temperature. It's not just going to
big time
ambient temperature.
So don't expect qualifying to look anything like the race. So looking at this, actually, the really important ones are going to be practice 1 and practice 2, because that has a similar time slot to the race. I'm sorry, practice 1, practice 3. Practice 2 is closer to qualifying, so that'll be the one that kind of tells you what qualifying form could look like. But, oh, man, this is going to be... I mean, this is like a data analyst dream for this weekend, because it's like some really, really cool stuff to collect data on.
It's funny. It's like the thing that's exciting about Vegas is not anything that any of the Vegas promoters have been talking about. It's just like the circumstances about where they're at. Like, oh, it's going to be cold, and they're doing it at a different time. It's like it has nothing to do with the track at this point.
So
wow, okay, fascinating.
Yeah. Actually, just to pivot real quick, I know we're talking a lot about Vegas, guys, but like it's a new race. Like, we don't know what it's gonna be like. The other bit of news that's really interesting about Vegas, I'm sure you all have seen either on the Formula One subreddit or wherever else you get your F1 news, and interviews and race reviews, there's a lot of talk about how it looks like the Vegas Grand Prix just in general might be a bust. I don't know who's really pushing that messaging, because talking with Gabe about this beforehand, it's possible that it's being pushed in order to get people to look into buying tickets. So this is all coming from the fact that it looks like hotel rooms are not being booked at the rate that would be making these guys happy, right? Like they want all these rooms booked, sold out, all that kind of stuff. Same with tickets for the race, any of the racing events. So I don't know. Maybe that's an indication that people are just kind of like mid on the whole concept of a Vegas Grand Prix,
right?
Or maybe are just kind of shying away because everyone saw like the ticket prices, like I did, and it was just like $1,400. Whoa, no, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
So,
well, and also I think it was like 3 teams did like contests trying to get people to like, you know, enter to win tickets and like backstage passes and whatever.
Yeah, Williams has been being pushed on my socials like hard.
Yeah, Williams, Mercedes, and I think Haas did it.
Mm-hmm.
There's just there's a lot of promo, a lot of push to get people to show up. And and like I said, I mean, like I don't want anything. I don't want any particular race to fail. I just think that like the way that it was marketed, the way that it was being promoted, the way that it was being hyped, I don't trust hype trains. I really don't. Anytime anybody gets super super excited over a thing, and then like I can't be bothered. I mean, like. Does anybody remember Oppenheimer? It's like, no, like, it only got hyped because Barbie was coming out the same day. And like, even though I'm sure Oppenheimer was perfectly fine, I didn't really care to want to see it. I did see Barbie though. It's funny how these hype trains, they are. It definitely was. It's amazing how these hype trains come and go. And like, I think that Vegas is, this is the stake the stakes that Vegas has, right?
Mm-hmm.
There are 3 possible outcomes for this race. In my mind, okay, either it will be insanely spectacular because of some crazy stuff happening, where either like some cars crashing into each other, some crazy qualifying thing, wild safety car intervention, people jumping around on track, trying to run out with signs or something.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's either going to be bonkers crazy with a lot of wild stuff happening, okay?
Yeah.
Or it will be, the second option is that it will be a complete disaster, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where it's like either there's some major issue that they didn't calculate for that delays the race, like some barrier thing, or like some teams like don't want, like have major safety concerns, or there's something that's just going to make it just be a mitigated disaster, just like nobody shows up, or like it's just whatever, or it's just going to be completely mid.
Yeah.
We're not going to have just like a normal Grand Prix where it's like there's some good racing,
right?
And there's some passes on track, and somebody does some good passing. It's like it's not going to be that. I feel like it's either going to be insanely good, insanely bad, or just boring processional nothing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that, and either any of those. I mean, really, the only one that's really going to be good is if it's the first
really
one, if it's really insanely good.
So, I was at a wedding last night.
Mm-hmm.
I was talking with a buddy of mine, and he brought up a really good point. He was saying that I think Liberty Media messed up with the advertising for this big time, right? Maybe in year 5, you could have gotten away with like charging per head of person who's standing in the casino. Maybe you could have gotten away with charging the hotels that have window access and window viewing access of the track. Maybe only year 5, but you can't do that year 1, right? This is the first time this is going on. People don't even know if it's worth it or not. Mm-hmm. And this is heavily contributing. Like this is definitely them like getting high on their own supply, right?
Yeah.
Like this is not good. And if it busts, it's awful because like how much, like look at all the infrastructure that's been built around it, all these plans for the city that have been built around it, and then there's jobs associated with that and people's livelihoods attached to this now, right? Mm-hmm. So I don't know.
This is the way I look at it. And I mean, maybe people just don't think like this in Vegas, but like if I was running a casino that happened to be along like, right on the corner of one of the turns or something, you would imagine that they want to get people to show up to this first race, right? Because you want it to be a success. Why would you not discount hotels, discount like supplement, like discount hotels,
Sure.
offer a reasonable price for entry. And then with people stay in your hotel, you give them here's like $100, credit for the casino, because if you think about it, if people are spending like upwards of $2,500 to go to this race, a sensible person is not also going to gamble. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're not going to spend that money, like because
Or maybe I don't know.
I mean, who knows? Well, I'm sure there's plenty of people that will. I mean, I'm sure there will, but like for the average person like you and me, or like a lot of like people who are not like Vegas people, like a lot of people who are just like normal race fans, they want to see a race. I guarantee you, I would be willing to bet a lot of them are not inclined to gamble. They just want to go for the Vegas for the race and through the experience, even though the incentive in Vegas for a lot of these hotels is to get people to be there to gamble. And if you want them to gamble their money, then why not let them have more money to gamble with? You know what I mean? I think that kind of goes in sort of what you're saying, where it's just like they kind of went to the nth degree
Right.
in the right out the gate by charging exorbitant amounts of money, charging the casinos a bunch of money, because they in this way of like, oh, well, like, we're going to lose money if you have people that are there, at the casino watching the race. It's like, well, you built it on the street. You built it without having a lot of access to people to actually see it. So where are the places they're going to go? They're going to go into a casino. I definitely think it could have been handled better. And I think that, I think you're right. I think had they marketed it in such a way, gave people better incentive in order to show up to the race, so they want to show up to the race, it would make it a lot easier. But they're not doing that. And it's just, it's just like, it's insane prices. Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
If the prices were not insane, would we be having these conversations? Like,
I don't
if the
think
ticket
so.
prices, let's say the ticket price was $500.
Yeah.
Right.
Like a more normal Grand Prix.
Yeah. Yeah. But they were still like trying to block windows and block people from seeing it. Do you think we would be having as big of a conversation? I don't think it would be as big of a conversation.
No, I think we'd still be annoyed about it as fans, being like, that's who you're trying to serve here. Because the problem is still the fact that they're blocking windows and stuff, right?
Right.
Excuse me. That doesn't make any sense, right? It seems super anti-consumer, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. It just seems that like F1, FIA, Liberty Media have been handed like on a silver platter just new fans and popularity, right? And a rising star, right? In the form of all these new fans because of whether it's because of Drive to Survive and COVID combined together, whether it's because the sport finally hit it right with marketing with the release of F1 TV. Whether it's the fact that we have a lot, F1 is more entrenched in social media and can actually have that reach and get out there, right? And we have personalities now. Whatever it is, or maybe the confluence of those things, has now put the sport in a position where it's like the thing, right? People talk about F1 now, right? And then they're taking that and they're just fumbling it. I think that's what's frustrating, because it's like, no, you have a very delicate like baby / like sapling in your hand. You need to like cultivate it and treat it well, and it'll grow and will like cement roots, and you'll be able to eventually get to the point where you can charge like $1,400 per ticket. You know, because I don't think people would be mad about that, right? Like, I'm not mad that I can't go to Monaco. No, I don't have the money for that. Clearly, like that's not my lifestyle. But Vegas is something that is. It feels like it was supposed to kind of flesh out the whole like give Americans or people who are close to America the option to go to another race, whether it's down Dakota and Austin, down to Mexico GP, Miami, maybe Montreal, and now you add Vegas, right? But then Vegas is not accessible, right? And that's the problem, right? It's like you have all these new fans coming in. Do you think they're all made of money? No. Like I thought we were trying to I thought we were trying to make more accessible, get the sport to a point where more people can join it, right? Similar to IndyCar and NASCAR. Right. Those guys have been doing a great job with, making things easy. You can get into, you're talking about your experience at PIR for IndyCar, right? IndyCar Portland. You were able to like go into the paddock for what? Or paddock passes there if you throw on top of your 3-day weekend pass, $200 for the experience? That's amazing.
It would, well, it was like $100. I think it was like $150 for the 3-day pass and the paddock. pass, which is just
that's amazing.
For 3 days. That's worth it.
Yeah.
But here's the thing though too. You reminded me of this. Like, so Monaco is expensive for a few reasons in my estimation. Okay, one, it is been around since 1920, so there's like a pedigree to that race that you're sort of paying for. Like, I get it, right? Two, it literally like geographically half of Monaco is water. If you were to look at it as a square grid, right? Half of it is land that's mountainous, and then half of it is water. So there is a physical barrier to actually getting there, right? Because like you have all these dudes that show up on their yachts, and then like there's like all these huge infrastructure and it's up in these hills, right? It's like, because it's like a big coastal thing,
it's
right?
a coastal city,
yeah,
or principality,
also,
I should say. Yeah.
Right, and also Monaco is small. And so there's only like the real estate is only so much because of those physical infrastructure and because of the physical thing, right?
Yeah.
So all of those sort of factors tying in, it's like I understand why Monaco would be crazy expensive to go to.
Yeah.
But it's also why it feels special. It's like why they call it the crowning jewel of F1. It has that sort of exclusivity. I think that they wanted to make Vegas another Monaco.
Right.
Because Vegas is like an expensive city. But here's the thing. Vegas is a flat desert. So there is plenty of real estate everywhere. Vegas is a much bigger city with a much bigger population than Monaco, right? And it's also within proximity to a lot of other population centers that could easily come into town, right? So it's like the justification of making it more expensive. It's like the only reason why I think that they're making it feel like it's more expensive, because it is Vegas, and probably because it's so expensive to block off the streets. Yeah. And the hotels have to see it, blah, 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 blah. And that's why I honestly think that if Vegas really wants to have a stake in F1 going into the future, drop the whole idea of making a street circuit. I know it's not the point. It's not going to happen now because they built this whole paddock thing, right? But what they should have done, in my opinion, is just build a racetrack that's just outside the city, that's purpose-built, that also, by the way, could double as a casino in the off-season. You know what I mean? You could have people gambling in the casino that's inside the racetrack. Like while the racing is happening, you have people gambling, or you have other races. You could have NASCAR race there. You could have sports car events. You could have F1 as the big main event. And throughout the whole rest of the year, even when there's no racing happening on track, you could get people. I guarantee you there are people that want to show up there with their sports cars, do some gambling, drive around the track. Maybe do a little personal bets between each other racing on the track or whatever during track days. I feel like that to me makes sense, but they didn't do that. They were just like, well, we want them to drive down the Vegas Strip at 180 miles an hour.
You know what would have been more interesting, honestly? Like if you want to speak to like Americana, the heart of America, then just build a purpose-built track in like Nebraska or something like that. You know what I mean? Go somewhere where
the heartland.
Yeah, the heartland. Oh, guys, politics in the U.S. right now, it's a wild time. So
it is a wild time.
But go somewhere in the country where you don't have these issues, where you will literally be like the only like store in town, right? Where people will flock to you and people will make it work in order to get to you, right? Like you can build the track out. You have there's so much land in the U.S. So much land.
Yeah. I was literally gonna say that. Yeah.
Like with like interesting topological variations, right? There's like coastal places you can go to. There's mountainous places. There's forest places, right? We could have a spa in the U.S. You know what I mean?
We could have a spa.
Just think about the beautiful
Pacific Northwest, or the
either there or the Appalachian region, right? There's just so many cool places that you could have put a new race, right? And that would feel more accessible and more affordable for people to get to, right? But then you choose Vegas, if you wanted to do like the really glitzy track, right? That is your Miami. Like Miami's already that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's why I think with Vegas it's so confusing. It's like, wait, what is Miami supposed to be, right? Like you see all these celebrities and superstars who are being interviewed by Brundle, like please, like, Martin, someone come get their grandpa Brundle, just interviewing people on the track, and it's like, this is okay. That's Miami though. That's your Monaco.
Yeah, they make the race at Coda feel like some like blue collar fist fight that happens midsummer. You know what I mean?
It's
Like even though Coda's a pretty like intensive track,
Yeah.
and it was purpose built for the sport in and of
Yeah.
itself. Like it does make Texas feel like a little more blue collar,
Sure.
which is like okay, but yeah, like we can do more. We can be more approachable, more blue collary, or more there, yeah, but like, yeah, you're right. Like, there's plenty of places like Denver, Colorado, lots
Yeah.
of beautiful mountainous regions. Like, I mean, obviously the Pacific. I mean, I have a bias for the Pacific Northwest, but even like Northern California is really beautiful. There's a lot of like real estate out there.
Yeah.
I mean, they were even talking about doing like a Jersey circuit, like in New York. Like a street circuit in
Yeah.
Jersey.
Or northern
like-
northern New York. There's beautiful forests up there. Like
yeah. Well, but if you do a street circuit in New Jersey and New York, they are already used to roads being closed down and redirected and changed, so it wouldn't make any difference for them. Like, that was just like a normal Tuesday in the traffic in New York. Like, but like that would be like an interesting thing to see. I mean, they did that street circuit for NASCAR in Chicago. I would 100% fly to Chicago to see a race.
You know what,
and
dude?
not only because we have friends who live there that we could potentially go to
Yes.
the race with, and maybe crash and supplement their weekend with it. That would be amazing. So
I'm saying it right now. We're gonna go to a NASCAR race next season.
yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it.
100% do it.
We'll pick one. Oh, God.
I'm excited. I mean, they raced at Coda, they raced in Chicago in the street circuit. They were even doing stuff in Mid Ohio.
Yeah.
So like, there's lots of potential for that because it's way more accessible. That's also
Yeah.
like we said this year, IndyCar is the
They're
way to
killing
go.
it.
Is you're getting
Or they
getting
killed
that
it.
accessibility.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I say
100%.
killed it past tense because the season's over.
Right.
Shout out Alex Pillow.
I'm excited for the next season. Oh, that reminds me. I was having breakfast with Lauren this morning, and we were talking about Andretti and F1.
Yeah.
And
Man.
I wanted to talk to you about this a little bit again because I think we talked about it a little bit.
Yeah. It's been a
but-
while since we've talked about an update on Andretti.
Right. Well, so we know the FIA approved them, right? And now
Yeah.
it's pretty much just in the hands of like what Liberty Media is wanting to do and the FIA president, which I think the FIA president has already said, right, that he's totally okay with Andretti, like he wants them to be in there, right?
Real quick before you continue on, did you hear that apparently the FIA asked Cadillac directly if they would partner with anyone but Andretti?
Oh, really?
This came out a couple weeks ago. It just kind of shows that I don't know, like Andretti just isn't liked in the F1 circles, huh?
I don't understand. Well,
Yeah.
there's some weird family beef with like F1 and
Yeah.
the Andretti organization. I don't know what it is. I don't know why. But I told Lauren, I said, unless they get like Logan Sargent to drive for them or something ridiculous, if Andretti enters the sport, they're probably going to be sort of my like team,
Oh,
like
for sure.
my team that I want to support. Because everything that I've seen with Andretti, watching them in Formula E and IndyCar, has just shown to me that they're pretty professional. They're quite a professional organization.
Yeah.
They're sort of juggling of contracts with like Grosjean's not the best thing. But also, Chip Ganassi and McLaren are also guilty of that. So I think that's just kind of par for the course.
You mean Chip Ganassi?
Chip Ganassi.
I'm just a bachelor looking for a partner.
Someone who will drive my car. So we were talking about what if you were in charge of selecting Andretti's driver lineup, what would you choose? And I think one of the things that I was suggesting is now a moot point, and that is that Grosjean signed for a different IndyCar team for next year, so he's still in that sport. He's not. So we know he's not going to be in Andretti. Like we know he's not going to be. He's not going to. I don't think they're going to pull him back into F1. So but they still kind of have. They still kind of have that with Jamie Chadwick, right? Because she's in their circle. And I was thinking about this too. Jamie Chadwick had a decent season at Indy Lights. It wasn't the best.
Yeah.
But here's the thing: she won all those Series W
Yeah.
championships, right? Those were much more closely related to F1 cars than they were Indy cars. Like
Sure.
Indy cars are a way different.
It's
animal,
a different
right?
chassis platform.
And
Yeah.
so maybe it plays more to her strengths. And this is the thought I had: if you're Andretti, right, and you're entering this sport, okay, maybe you like about you fight against all opposition, you make it in. Unless by some miracle you're way up at the top right out the gate, you're not really expecting that that's what's going to happen, right? The realistic idea is that you're going to be kind of further back on the grid for a while before you build it up, right? Why not take a risk on a driver like Jamie Chadwick if you're going to be at the bottom anyway? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Why not have somebody who has familiarity with the organization, has familiarity with the sport that you've entered, right? Has a lot of natural talent and ability already. If I was Michael Andretti, I would do it. I would and this doesn't sound, and I don't say this to sound mean or definitely not sexist or anything like that, but like Jamie would come cheap. You know what I mean? She's not like a Fernando Alonso. She's not like a Lewis Hamilton. You're not going to be paying her $300 million. You know what I mean? She would be a driver that you could rely on, and she's not at this moment demanding a crazy amount of money.
Yeah.
Because I think for her, it's not even about the money as much as it is the opportunity to be on an F1 team on that grid and how important that is, right? So I feel like there's a lot of positives and benefits to doing something like that if you were Andretti entering F1. Does that make sense?
I feel you. I'm picking up the vibes, and I like the vibes, but let me throw down a counterpoint. Of course, I'm going to preface this with, I'm a Jamie stan. But if you are using, like, just put yourself in the shoes of the team boss. Yes, she has the experience within the stable, right? Within our organization, she knows how things function. However, it might also be nice to bring in someone who's raced in Formula One, like a recent vet, a recent retiree, right? Or someone who's kind of maybe like a Checo even, right? Like, let's say Checo loses his seat for next year, right? Or for whenever Andretti comes in. Let's say it's 2025, right? They come in, they're not expecting it to be a year where they're making some serious inroads, right? Because this is new. Wouldn't it be good to have someone who was on a top contender team who can kind of help guide the team into building that culture, right? Being on a championship winning team. I think that might be the more beneficial route to go. Maybe you have like a Checo and a Jamie, right?
Yeah.
That might be the best of both.
Yeah.
That might be the best of both worlds, honestly.
Yeah. I think that Jamie has a good amount of understanding that she can contribute enough, but she's also a rising star. Whereas Checo, like you said, he comes from a really high-end team. He knows a lot. He knows what it takes to win, and he has won.
Right.
So, I think that's the winning combination. I think if you get two...
You heard it here first.
Extreme,
Team Andretti, F1 2025, Checo and Jamie.
I think that if you have two world champions together, I don't really think that necessarily works all the time because there's a lot of, like, conflicting egos of, like, who gets the best parts of whatever car, right?
Yeah.
And then if you go with two rookies... We saw that happen with Haas, and we saw how disastrous that was.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yes. Hi. Hi, Jin.
Hi, Jin. So I think the killer combination for a starting team is to have one veteran who knows what he's doing, and then have sort of a rising star, give them an opportunity, because you know that they're going to be gung-ho, they're going to be doing the best that they possibly can, they're going to be supporting your brand as best they can. They're more likely to develop some long-term loyalty to you if you treat them well and you give them their shot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's a lot of those positive ideas to that, right?
Right.
So, and also Jamie is a known quantity. They know her. She knows the team. She knows the organization. So there's a lot of, but that's an interesting question. I mean, who knows? Maybe I think I've said this before. I think that if Checo does not have a good season this next year, either halfway through the season or by the end, I think that he's either going to retire or they're going to swap him with like Ricardo or something. I mean, who knows? Maybe something will happen in the off season. Maybe Checo will just decide to retire at the end of the season. Like, I know there were some rumors of that in Mexico, and And I think that in F1, if there's anything that we can rely on, is that rumors always have some little drop of
Dude,
truth to them.
do you remember?
Unless it's Alonso and Taylor Swift. I don't know. Maybe not there, but
Do you remember? It was towards the end of last season where people were like, "Oh yeah, Binotto's about to get the boot, and they're gonna bring in Fred Vasseur from Sauber." Everyone's like, "Huh?
Mhm.
What?" And that was true. That was 100% true.
Yeah.
Right?
he
So,
even denied it. He said it wasn't true. And
Yeah,
it was definitely
yeah.
true.
Yeah,
Yeah.
both. I think Bonotto said it wasn't true, and I think Vasseur said, "Oh yeah, no, we're gonna see what happens. I don't know what they're talking about, but yeah, come on."
Mhm. Yeah. And to be fair, Taylor Swift did end up dating a sportsman.
Yes,
So
I
you
think
know,
Travis Kelce from the Chiefs, right? In the
yeah, I
NFL,
guess.
so.
Yeah, sports.
Well, which we are talking about.
Right. Well, these are my sport. They ain't my sports. Yeah. Well. Yeah. So that was pretty much. I think the only other thing I think I may have wanted to mention that was interesting was that Ferrari's running a special livery at Vegas this year.
Oh,
This is supposed to like kind of it harkens back to their late 2000 or late 70s F1 cars, which had a lot of success in the United States at Watkins Glen and at Long Beach. So I think that they're trying to get some good vibes and some mojo. Although the promotional video for their unveiling that was really cringeworthy.
like,
I don't know why they were on a sound stage with a screen behind them. Like they could have just done that at Charles's house or something, sitting on his couch. So whatever. I don't know. I feel like the Ferrari marketing and their strategists, they must be like besties or something because they're just making some cringe decisions back and
Yep.
forth.
yeah. I mean, it's a really nice looking livery. It's like red. It's got the white on the rear wing. That kind of harkened to the Marlboro. Spoiler of the old days.
Yeah. The white, I think the white on the white stripes over the side pod and then the kind of white on the shark fin, it is a really, really nice sharp looking thing, and I think it's going to be a good contrast to see. I always like when they're mixing it up, white on the front wing too. That looks really nice. I'm tired of just seeing black on white on the wings. Like it's cool when they start adding some accent colors in there. So I'm into it.
Also, the racing suits too look pretty good.
Yeah.
If you go to their website, it's just a Ferrari store. They show both Charles and Carlos in the racing suits, and they look good, right? And there's a section called racing. The racing suit looks fine, and then there's two photos under the exclusive selection, or right above the exclusive selection link. And I don't know why they made Charles like the focus of the picture, and then Carlos is in the background, kind of looking like that Mr. Krabs meme where he doesn't know like what's going on. And then there's another picture there where Carlos is not looking at the camera at all. Like, who decided that this is okay to release? Like, you got my boy Carlos looking wild here. I just sent you the link there for you to take a look at. This is just terrible. Oh my god, doing my man dirty.
Yeah.
Like, what is this? What is that?
These like blurry in the.
I'm saying, this is the official Ferrari website, dude. What is this? This is trash.
Yeah, this is pretty bad.
Like you and the guys, you versus the guy she tells you not to worry about.
Yeah. Also, you could tell Carlos is looking at Charles in that photo. I think they blurred him probably for that reason.
Maybe.
He wasn't looking. But it's just like how can I ask? Like, it's like how long did they have these guys for this photo shot? Like, did they not have time to take photos of them properly? Like,
it's weird. It's trash.
Yeah, that's really weird. That is really strange.
It's not artsy. It doesn't look nice. No. It looks really it looks terrible. I think maybe Ferrari thinks they have more style than they do. Maybe that's the problem that's happening here. I mean, Ferrari and F1 is simply brand recognition and marketing for Ferrari. It's not about winning championships.
Yeah,
clearly. So
no, they sell watches and luggage and occasionally cars. That's why it's like wearing some Ferrari merchandise just doesn't. I don't know. It just doesn't feel right. It feels like you're just inviting some odd conversations with people. Um, yeah. Well, I mean, well, it remains to be seen. Carlos did really great at the last night race, so maybe Ferrari will pull out a win here. That would be pretty spectacular. But I'm starting to think. I think Aston and I think Ferrari will do pretty well. That's my prediction for this race. So
yeah,
that's where I'm going with.
I'm gonna throw in. You said Ferrari and Aston. Yeah, I feel that. I'm just gonna throw McLaren in there too. I think they'll do all right.
Okay.
I think they'll do decent.
Yeah. Hopefully, hopefully it'll be exciting. If it's not, then like I said, I will eat a fresh crow, and I will put egg on my face.
Of which we clarified that it's not Sheryl Crow, right?
It is not Sheryl Crow.
Yeah.
No,
Okay.
not Sheryl Crow. Yep. Go ahead, do the outro.
All right, guys. Thanks for listening to us today. We are F1 or F off. You can find us anywhere you listen to podcasts. If you want to hit us up, you can find us on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and X Twitter, Threads, whatever else. All at F1 or F off, all one word. When I say F1 or F off, the one is the number one. So just keep that straight. Same thing on our email.
Is that why? Is that the thing? Are we going to get a huge boost in our number of viewership?
Could you imagine?
Because everyone's been trying to put one.
They said
that was
one.
the secret.
And not even ONE, just WON. Like, no.
No.
So our email is f1rfoffpodcast@gmail.com. Give us a 5-star review wherever you listen to your podcasts, and be sure to share it with family and friends. And we hope to be seeing you all on the live chats on Discords and whatnot when we're all watching free practice together, as we have previously established in this episode. So
yeah, maybe we'll do a nerd session,
Yeah.
and that's just me live tweeting while the practice session is going.
Yep.
Yeah.